My name is Grace Preston. I'm 33 years old. Last December, my father looked me in the eye, in front of 40 people, and told the room I was nothing. He didn't shout. He didn't insult me directly. He did something worse. He erased me. Like I wasn't worth mentioning. Like I didn't exist. And the most interesting part? The man sitting across from him, the one he was trying to impress, had just helped my company move its $9 billion transaction. And my father had no idea. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because moments like that don't come out of nowhere. They build. Slowly. Quietly. Over years. So before I tell you what happened at that dinner, you need to understand something. I didn't start with power. I started with nothing. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn Heights. No doorman. No skyline view. Just a radiator that clanks at 4 a.m. Like it has something to prove. 3 plants on the windowsill. A fern. A pot hose. And something I bought from a corner store that refuses to die. That's my version of luxury. Every morning, I wake up at 5:15. By 5:45, I'm at my office in Tribeca. Glass walls. Minimal furniture. 23 people working quietly. And one whiteboard. Covered in equations most people wouldn't understand. But I do. Because that's where everything started. My company is called Vidian Capital. We run a quantitative hedge fund. Artificial intelligence. Machine learning. Algorithmic trading. If that sounds complicated, here's the simple version. We built software that reads the market faster than humans ever could. And makes decisions without emotion. Last quarter, we outperformed every major index by 11%. Assets under management? $14 billion. But here's the part that matters. Most people in finance know Vidian. Almost no one knows me. And for a long time. That was intentional. Because when you grow up the way I did, you learn something early. Silence is safer than attention. I haven't spoken to my father in 7 years. Not because of one fight. Not because of something dramatic. Because of something simple. He showed me who he was. And I believed him. But to understand that, you have to go back. Before the success. Before the company. Before the silence. Back to a small house in Bridgeport, Connecticut. My mother was a high school English teacher. She taught Shakespeare. Graded essays late into the night. Believed in words. My father believed in numbers. He built an investment firm in Manhattan. Fast decisions. Big risks. The kind of man who didn't ask for opinions. He made them. For 13 years. That worked. Then it didn't. They divorced when I was 13. My father moved to Greenwich. Big house. Heated pool. My mother stayed where she was. Same kitchen. Same table. Same life. My father sent checks. Exact amounts. Never late. Never more than necessary. 18 months later, he remarried. Caroline. She came with a son. Derek. 7 years old. And suddenly, everything changed. My room disappeared. Turned into a home gym. My photos disappeared. Replaced with Derek's trophies. No one said anything. They didn't need to. Because silence says enough. My mother never complained. She'd stand at the sink, grading papers. And say something I didn't understand at the time. Your father loves you in the only way he knows how. I believed her. For years. I kept showing up. Weekend visits. Phone calls. Pretending distance meant busy. Not intentional. Then I turned 18. And everything changed. I got into Columbia. Full scholarship. Applied mathematics. I remember the call. My mother crying into a dish towel. We celebrated with pie at a diner. She looked at me and said, "This is the beginning of something." She was right. My father disagreed. "Skip it," he said. "Come work at the firm. No degree needed. Real experience matters more." I told him no. That I wanted to study. That this mattered. He leaned back. Disappointed. Then he made a decision. He cut me off. Everything beyond legal obligation. Gone. No support. No help. Nothing. Caroline made sure everyone knew. She's stubborn. She thinks she's smarter than him. Derek got opportunities one never did. Internships. Connections. A path. Already built. I worked 2 jobs. Studied at night. Graduated at the top of my class. My father didn't come. He sent a card. 1 line. Hope it was worth it. That was the moment something shifted. Not anger. Clarity. Because now, I understood something. If I wanted anything, I would have to build it myself. And that's exactly what I did. But before the company, before the success, there was one moment that changed everything. Thanksgiving. A dinner table. And 6 words. I never forgot. "You'll never make a dime, Grace." That night, I left. And I never went back. Not to that house. Not to that version of my life. Because sometimes, the most important thing you can do is walk away. Even when no one understands why. And that was the moment. Everything started that night. When I walked out of my father's house, I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel strong. I felt empty. Because when someone tells you, with complete certainty, that you'll never succeed, a part of you listens. Even if you don't want it to. I drove back to Brooklyn in silence. No music. No distractions. Just the sound of the road. And one sentence repeating in my head. "You'll never make a dime." Over. And over. And over. When I got home, I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I opened my laptop. And I started working. Because that's the only way I knew how to respond. Not with words. With results. At that point, I was still working at an investment bank. Junior quantitative analyst. $85,000 a year. At the time, it felt like everything. Until I moved to Manhattan. Then I realized it was barely enough to survive. But the job? The job changed me. Because for the first time, I was surrounded by people who spoke the same language I did. Numbers. Models. Probability. No emotion. Just logic. And I loved it. I worked longer hours than anyone else. Not because I had to. Because I refused to be the weakest person in the room. 14-hour days. Sometimes 16. Late nights. Cold coffee. Debugging code at midnight. While the cleaning crew vacuumed around my chair. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was trying to become undeniable. And slowly, it started working. Not overnight. Not dramatically. But consistently. My models improved. My accuracy improved. My confidence quietly followed. My second year? I got my first real bonus. $4,200. After taxes. Not life-changing. But to me, it meant everything. Because I earned it. No connections. No shortcuts. Just work. I walked into a small watch store on Madison Avenue. And bought something simple. A tank watch. Not flashy. Not loud. I wore it under my sleeve. Not for anyone else to see. For me. Because every morning when I checked the time, I remembered something important. I built this. No one gave it to me. That reminder mattered more than the watch. Around that time, my boss started noticing me. Malcolm Harding. Sharp. Precise. The kind of person who didn't waste words. He started giving me harder work. Models other analysts avoided. Complex problems. Higher stakes. And I said yes. Every single time. Because difficulty was the only way forward. But even then, I still called my father. Once a month. Same pattern. He'd answer. Listen for a minute. Then ask the same question. When are you going to do something real? And every time, I gave the same answer. I already am. He never believed me. Eventually, I stopped calling. Not out of anger. Out of understanding. Because some people only see value in what they recognize. And I wasn't building something he understood. So I stopped trying to explain it. 2 years later, everything changed. Not because of luck. Because of a decision. I left the bank. No backup plan. No safety net. Just savings. $230,000. And an idea. I remember sitting in my apartment that night. Laptop open. Spreadsheet in front of me. Calculating risk. Runway. Burn rate. Worst case scenarios. Everything made sense. On paper. But reality? Reality doesn't care about your spreadsheets. It tests you anyway. I signed the paperwork the next morning. Vidian Capital. 3 people. 1 small office in Jersey City. Shared space. 1 wall. A tax preparer on one side. A chiropractor on the other. And in the middle, a folding desk I bought for $40. That was the beginning. No investors. No press. No one watching. Which was perfect. Because it meant one thing. No pressure. Just performance. I built the first algorithm myself. Line by line. Testing. Failing. Fixing. Over and over again. The first 6 months were brutal. No guarantees. No validation. Just numbers. Either they worked. Or they didn't. Then something happened. Not dramatic. Not sudden. But real. The model started performing. Consistently. Accurately. Profitably. Year 1. We returned 34%. No marketing. No announcements. Just results. And in finance? Results travel faster than anything. Quietly. Through conversations. Through networks. Through people who pay attention. By year 2, we crossed $400 million. I moved the office to Tribeca. Hired more people. Built a real team. Not big. But sharp. Focused. Aligned. We didn't chase attention. We chased accuracy. Because that's what compounds. By year 3. We crossed $3 billion. That's when something unexpected happened. Malcolm called me. Directly. No assistant. No formal meeting. Just a call. I want to work with you, he said. Not as my boss. As a partner. That mattered. Because it meant something had changed. Not externally. Internally. I wasn't proving myself anymore. I had already done it. From that point on, things accelerated. Faster than I expected. Faster than I planned. By year 5, we were managing $14 billion. And still, I didn't go public. No interviews. No spotlight. Because I didn't need it. The work spoke for itself. And somewhere in the middle of all that, something else happened. I stopped thinking about my father. Not intentionally. It just faded. Because when you're building something real, you don't have time to look backward. Until one day, something arrived. That pulled me right back. A cream-colored envelope. Heavy. Expensive. Deliberate. Sitting on my desk. And the moment I saw the name printed on it, I knew. 7 years of silence were about to end. The envelope sat on my desk for almost an hour before I opened it. Not because I was busy. Because I already knew who it was from. And some things don't need confirmation. They need preparation. Cream paper. Heavy stock. The kind of detail my father cared about. The kind of detail that said, "This isn't casual." I slid my finger under the seal. Opened it carefully. Inside. One card. Black lettering. Simple. Direct. Preston Capital Annual Dinner. Greenwich, Connecticut. December 12th. 7 p.m. No note. No explanation. Just an invitation. 7 years of silence. Reduced to one line. I leaned back in my chair. Looked out at the glass walls of my office. People moving. Screens lit. Everything I had built. Right in front of me. And yet, that envelope pulled me somewhere else. Not emotionally. Strategically. Because I understood something immediately. This wasn't about reconnecting. This was about positioning. My father didn't reach out. Unless there was something to gain. And if he was inviting me now, after 7 years, it meant one thing. He needed something. The question was, what? I didn't RSVP. I didn't call. I didn't acknowledge it at all. Instead, I asked Malcolm one question. What's happening in Greenwich next week? He didn't hesitate. Preston Capital's trying to raise a fund, he said. How big? $2 billion target. I nodded. And? They're struggling. That part mattered. Why? I asked. Performance dropped, he said. Investors are hesitant. There it was. Not a dinner. A pitch. And suddenly, everything made sense. Because in the last 6 months, Vidian had done something unexpected. We didn't just outperform. We dominated. Consistently. Quietly. And people noticed. Investors talk. Capital moves. And when it does, it leaves gaps. Gaps my father was now trying to fill. The dinner wasn't about family. It was about money. And for the first time, I wasn't on the outside of that conversation. I was the center of it. December 12th. I drove to Greenwich at 5:40 p.m. Not early. Not late. On time. Because timing always matters. The house hadn't changed. Same long driveway. Same stone exterior. Lights perfectly placed. Valet at the entrance. Controlled. Curated. I stepped out of the car. Black coat. Simple dress. No logos. No statement pieces. Because I didn't need them. Confidence doesn't require decoration. Inside, everything was exactly as I remembered. High ceilings. Soft lighting. Conversations layered over each other. Measured laughter. People networking without calling it that. I recognized some faces. Investors. Fund managers. People I had only seen in reports. Or across conference tables. And for the first time, they recognized me. Not immediately. But subtly. A second glance. A pause. Recognition forming. Because even without publicity, results leave a trail. I stepped further inside. And then, I saw him. My father. Standing near the center of the room. Suit tailored. Posture perfect. Speaking to a group of investors. Confident. Controlled. Exactly as I remembered. For a moment, nothing moved. Because 7 years doesn't disappear in a second. But then, he saw me. And something shifted. Not dramatically. Just enough. His posture tightened. His expression adjusted. Calculated. Because now, he had to decide something. How to present me. Not to me. To them. He excused himself. Walked over. Measured steps. And stopped in front of me. Grace, he said. Like no time had passed. Like everything was normal. Dad, I replied. Same tone. Same control. No emotion. Because this wasn't personal anymore. This was a room full of observers. And we both knew it. I'm glad you came, he said. I'm sure you are. A slight pause. Not uncomfortable. Just honest. I'd like you to meet a few people, he added. There it was. The real reason. Positioning. He turned slightly. Guided me toward a group near the fireplace. 3 men. 1 woman. All investors. All watching. This is my daughter, Grace, he said. The room shifted. Not because of what he said. Because of what he didn't. No mention of what I do. No context. No acknowledgement. Just. My daughter. Like that was enough. Like that was all I was. One of the men looked at me. Studied my face. Then asked. What do you do, Grace? Simple question. But my father answered first. She's still figuring things out, he said lightly. A soft laugh followed. Polite. Contained. But I heard it. Every part of it. 7 years. Everything I built. Reduced. In one sentence. And for a moment, I considered staying quiet. Because silence had always been my default. But something inside me had changed. Because silence protects the wrong things. I looked at the man. Then at my father. Then back at the group. And I answered. I run a quantitative hedge fund, I said calmly. The room stilled. Subtly. But noticeably. What's the name? The woman asked. Vidian Capital. A pause. Recognition. Not from everyone. But from enough. One of the men leaned forward slightly. You're Vidian. I nodded. And that's when everything changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But completely. Because in that moment, the room stopped seeing me as his daughter and started seeing him as my father. And that shift? That's where power changes. My father felt it. I saw it in the way his expression tightened. Controlled. But no longer certain. Because the narrative he planned no longer worked. And the room? The room was paying attention now. Not to him. To me. And this time, I didn't stay quiet. The shift in the room was subtle. But once you notice it, you can't unsee it. The conversations didn't stop. No one made a scene. But the attention, it moved. Away from my father. Toward me. And in rooms like this, that's everything. The man who had been speaking to my father a moment earlier turned fully toward me. You're the founder, he asked. Yes. How long have you been running it? 5 years. He nodded slowly. Impressive. That word carried weight. Not because of the compliment. Because of who it came from. Another voice joined. I've seen your performance numbers. I recognized him. Institutional capital. Serious money. We've been trying to understand your model, he continued. It's different. It's disciplined, I replied. Not defensive. Not explanatory. Just accurate. Because I wasn't here to impress them. I was here to exist in the truth. And that was enough. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my father. Still standing there. Still smiling. But now, he wasn't leading the conversation. He was inside it. And that difference? It changes everything. Someone asked about our strategy. Another about risk exposure. Another about scalability. Questions that matter. Questions that only go to people who have something real. And I answered every one of them. Calm. Precise. Controlled. Because I didn't need to prove anything. I already had. After a few minutes, one of the investors said something that changed the entire tone. We should talk about allocation. Not someday. Not maybe. Now. In the middle of my father's dinner. In front of his investors. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. This wasn't just a moment. This was a reversal. Complete. Because everything he had built this night for attention, validation, capital had shifted to me. My father cleared his throat. Subtle. Controlled. Trying to regain position. Grace has always been independent, he said. The word hung there. Carefully chosen. Like he was trying to reshape the narrative in real time. But it was too late. Because people don't follow words. They follow results. And the results were already clear. One of the investors turned to him. You never mentioned she was behind Vidian. There it was. Not accusation. Not confrontation. Just observation. But sometimes, that's enough. My father smiled. Thin. Measured. She prefers to stay out of the spotlight, he said. That part was true. But not for the reason he wanted it to be. Because I wasn't hiding. I was building. And those are not the same thing. The conversation continued. But something had changed permanently. My father wasn't the center anymore. He was adjacent. And I could see it in the way he stood. Still composed. Still controlled. But no longer certain. After another 10 minutes, I stepped back. Not because I had to. Because I chose to. Power isn't just about presence. It's about knowing when to leave. I should let you get back to your evening, I said. Polite. Professional. Final. The investors nodded. Some smiled. One handed me a card. Let's schedule something, he said. I took it. Of course. Then I turned. And for the first time that night, I looked directly at my father. No audience. No performance. Just us. 7 years of silence. Compressed into one moment. He opened his mouth slightly. Like he was about to say something. Explain. Justify. Maybe even apologize. But I didn't wait. Because I didn't need it. I didn't need his approval. I didn't need his recognition. I didn't need anything from him anymore. And that realization? That was the real victory. Take care, Dad, I said. Simple. Respectful. Complete. Then I walked out. No hesitation. No looking back. Because closure doesn't always come from answers. Sometimes it comes from understanding. Outside, the air was cold. Sharp. Real. I stood there for a moment. Not to process. Not to reflect. Just to feel it. The quiet. The clarity. The absence of everything I used to carry. Because for years, I thought success would feel like something loud. A moment. A reaction. A victory. But it didn't. It felt like this. Calm. Certain. Unshaken. I got into my car. Closed the door. And started the engine. No music. No distraction. Just forward. Because that's all that mattered now. Not the past. Not the approval I never got. Not the version of myself that kept trying. Just what came next. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing anything. I had already arrived.